Let's dig on it, man.
Use the paleography to verify the chronology. Although people use it then to make comparisons, we have an obvious circular argument here. Always bear in mind is how things get dated, particularly in ancient times. I mean, in modern times, we know to some extent how things get dated. But imagine you're a historian from, say, 300 AD or 500 AD, possibly even 1200 AD or later. First of all, it's not entirely clear that your intention in writing history is the same as the intention of the modern historian, namely to give a faithful chronicle of events. We cannot take this for granted at all. As a matter of fact, it's a fair assumption that many ancient writings had a sort of moralistic purpose. They were much more in keeping with, like Roman histories was showing, the grandeur of certain figures.
Belly flop.
But follow what happens after here. You have Tiberius compared to Constantius II, 23 and 24. When we come to Caligula, it's 4 years and 2 years. Caligula is heir to Julian the Apostate. Then we have Claudius, 13 years, and Valentinian, 11 years, and so forth.
He's talking about the time of rulership, and he's comparing kingdoms from hundreds of years apart, even over 1,000 years apart. And you see these rulership dynastic periods really lining up to a point of duplication. And somebody's going to ask at the end, either it's duplicating, like history really is repeating itself, or history is his story that's fragmented and the real history is being duplicated into the past, even into ancient history, man. Let's pick it up from here.
Rulers who all reigned less than 1 year on the other side. Okay, very, very conspicuous. Now, the other thing that's interesting is this period, sort of in Roman history, ends with an invasion by the Goths, where you have Caracalla. Oddly enough, exactly on the other side, you have a second, let's put it this way, quote unquote, second invasion of the Goths. Okay, on the left, we have the Roman Empire from the 1st century BC to the 3rd century AD. Then we have the Holy Roman Empire from the 10th century to the 13th century. In other words, on the left here, we have largely the same people who are that we had on the right-hand side of the previous one, but now they're being compared to rulers of the Holy Roman Empire. Okay, basically about 1,050 years later.
1,050 years later. Remember the 3 chronological time shifts: 333 years, 1,053 years, and 1,778 years. That's 1,800 years, man. Imagine them pushing your story back 1,000 years. Your people trying to dig on you, they got to go dig in the BCs. Now it opens up this big space for them to write fake history and give you a New Testament.
And you see, we have another symmetry. And this is how it's reported. But remember, we have to bracket almost everything of this kind up here. Because we don't know what the veracity of the chronicles is, what the intention of the chronicles was, or even what the people really understood by it.
I don't think anybody is in any position really to make a hypothesis. You get a million ideas occurring to you when you really look into this. Many people that I talk to, they want to get a hypothesis, they want to go off and run with it, to the exclusion of everything else before they end.
Oh, we jumping off the roof with this. We're going to have an hypothesis party because it appears that all the real drop just happened. And so that you don't know it's the real drop just happening, they made duplicates of it, put it in past. Now you're learning about it in the BCs, and you'll never relate your real Khan kingdom with this whole invasion of Columbus. Columbus can easily parallel with Titus and Vespasian. That 1,000-year shift, man, that 1,800-year shift, it's the takedown of Israel right here in America, the promised land. And it just happened, man.
Understand anything about really what's going on. And I think that people have no business making hypotheses about this until they really understand the extent and the depth.
We jumping off the roof.
I mean, like any really nailed down.
We jumping off the roof.
Obviously, lots of crazy ideas are going to occur to you, but they occur to me all the time.
We talk crazy very well.
And I try to follow them out as much as I can. But I mean, we are not making hypotheses here because really we're not in a position to.
remember the little pattern up here, okay, where we have a little block of history here, and then we shift it back and shift it back and so forth. Fomenko's opinion is the only legitimate history. Now, this doesn't mean that nothing happened before this. The only history that our documents address themselves to is from the period of 300 AD up to modern times. Everything else is a projection of that material, that history.
All your ancient history is coming after 300 AD and really is coming after.
Material back in time due to the errors that scholars made in trying to synchronize relative.
Due to purposeful confusion, not errors, purpose confusion. They're giving half drop, they're giving half truth. This was done on purpose. This is a frequency war.
Blocks of history. Remember, there are three shifts. One is 333 years, one is 1,053 years, and the other one is 1,778 years. He has an account of each one of these and how these could have happened historically to produce those shifts. But his is what we might call one radical interpretation. Now, before you say this guy's out of his mind, what Fomenko does, given a pair of duplicates, what Fomenko does is says, well, can we establish astronomically which one is valid? So take, for example, Thucydides' Peloponnesian Wars. There are three eclipses mentioned in the Peloponnesian Wars. They're described with great fullness. There's a lunar eclipse, an annular solar eclipse, and another lunar eclipse. You can infer what the path of totality was and the whole deal from these descriptions. The creators of modern chronology, namely Scaliger and Batavius, trying to astronomically solve the problem of those eclipses, were not able to do it without leaving out some of the data provided by Thucydides, who, by the way, says he was a personal witness of this. So what Fomenko did, he said, let's make no presuppositions about this. Where are the exact astronomical solutions for this triad of eclipses? And there turns out to be one in the 11th century AD and one in the 12th century AD, and no others. So what Fomenko does quite regularly is he will appeal to astronomical arguments to try to determine which is the principal one, and his conclusion, and however crazy it may sound, is extraordinarily well argued, is that the only legitimate history is the modern history from about 300 on, and most of that, by the way, is from 900 on.
900 on. 1,000, 1,100, 1,200, Dark Age history got pushed back to the BCs. Your heritage got pushed back 1,000 years, 1,800 years.
From 300 on, got like statuary documents.
Now you're looking for King David. You think it's in 700 BC. You're looking at all this Akkadian stuff. How far back did they push and duplicate history to create antiquity, Egypt, all this?
Historical events really did happen, but the question is when and where, and maybe, of course, how many times. He thinks it didn't happen 10 times, it only happened once, and most of that stuff happened after 900.
Body bag for the illusion. Just remember, man, there's a meteor shower popping, man. Matter of fact, they call it a meteor storm.